Well, hello there. Hi, my name is Harvey Sengers. I am 34 years. I come from the Netherlands. I think I spent at least 30 years of my 34 years being an absolute music lover, absolute music nerd, and I think over 20 years making my own music as a musician. So, as I've been making music throughout the years, doing tours and doing shows and everything, I had the pleasure countless times to walk into all kinds of cool people from all over the artistic spectrum. There are so many years of having so many cool conversations with all these artists and all these musicians. I started noticing that whenever I would flip on the mainstream media, it would rarely be the case that I would see something that was even mildly as interesting as the conversations that I would have with these musicians. I also started noticing that for some weird reason, the less these people were getting attention, so the more unknown the musicians and the artists were, the more interesting the conversations were I had with them. So here's the deal. I have been busy making a game, a relatively easy game with 60 question cards for artists. And with artists, I mean basically everybody who has anything to do with art. This could be musicians, people working on photography, people making art, people who help making art, people who appreciate art, basically everybody. The name of the game is the first record, or in my native Dutch language, de eerste plaat. The game focuses mostly on music, but I also put in a lot of other questions that could basically speak to any artists. I also try to include a very deep questions and very light subjects, so we get a healthy mix. Also, and this is where the game gets its name, there are three special music record questions. These questions focus solely on questions about music records. So whoever is playing this game with me has to draw 20 questions. They have to answer them as good as they can. And if they manage to draw two of the three record questions that I just showed you, the player actually wins a voucher for a music album of their own choice. Each player starts out with two I am asking you question cards. It's very simple. The name already says it. If there's a question that you find interesting that I am asking you, you can give this card to me and then I have to answer the same question. So last but certainly not least, there's only one Joker question card. This one comes very much in handy on the end of the game if you weren't able to get at least two of the record questions. This card permits you to draw three more questions and even gives you one extra I'm asking you card. The goal of the game is to have as much meaningful and interesting conversations about music and art as humanly possible to help musicians and artists that need the attention, of course, to keep you, sophisticated people, entertained. Of course, I'm gonna need also your help to find cool guests, but we're gonna talk about that on the end of the video. For now, let's get into it. So my next guest is called Thomas Auer. He is an Austrian festival director. He has been directing the Klang festival ever since 2008. It's still going strong today, taking place every year, mostly in the summer. The Klang festival is known for its experimental music and its experimental art. The festival itself won a big nationwide Austrian prize. He's also a big music fan, just like I am, and I can't wait to introduce you to him. Here we go. Hi.
Hi, Harv.
Thank you for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I think you're a bit familiar with the game. All is good for you. I'll start from here.
All right, nice.
Cool. We'll go for the first one. Question 13. Which work of art should everyone have seen at least at once? It can also be a film, a series, or a comic, as long as it's art.
You're starting with a very tough one.
Hey, you're the one that chose it. So.
Wow, okay. That's a hell of a question. Maybe I'll start with a very honest answer. Everyone should at least watch once The Simpsons.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And why would you choose out of everything The Simpsons?
I think it's a way of punk rock in a very, very popular form.
Yeah.
And it's for children and for grown-ups. It's very funny and it's still punk rock.
Okay. Okay, cool. Is there any scene or any episode in particular that you would pick out if anybody would ask you why is it punk rock?
Maybe the first series.
Wow, yeah.
I think they painted the Simpsons very, very rough.
Yeah,
then
I remember. Yeah,
and it's still very there's very much anarchy in this kind of comic.
Uh-huh.
And it's always strange that the Simpsons have been broadcasted on Fox TV, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very conservative channel actually.
Uh-huh.
And they made their anarchism, punk rockism inside this Fox system. I think that's pretty cool and funny, and everyone should see that at least once.
Cool. It's a cool answer. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny that you mentioned that. I think it's not that long ago that I saw they made a comparison of every time when Homer chokes Bart.
Yeah, yeah.
And they did it through the years because I think they're the longest running animation series of all time at this point. And they showed it from I think it's 1998 until now.
Yeah.
And it's what you said, the first two seasons, it looks so rough.
Yeah.
Because he's doing it since season 1.
Absolutely.
And the first time we literally see him grab this much neck and his face is all over the place. That's an interesting, cool, okay. Number 6, describe the live music scene that you grew up in. Was there enough opportunity for a music scene in your area? And if so, what did it look like?
Yeah, I grew up in a very, very small town where you were able to watch some live music now and then, I would say. But way more interesting is the next biggest city next to my hometown. It's called Linz, which is in Upper Austria. And there is this very famous club, KAPU. It's, for example, famous because in 1989, Nirvana played there right before they became very famous.
Oh, wow.
And you can find some old video footage of this show on YouTube.
Yeah.
And yeah, at this club, actually I was attending my first real life shows. My first one was a band from Germany. It's called Knarrfrellum. And they really make this very, kind of funny, but very, combined with a lot of politics, synthesizer, also kind of punk rock music. And this was the first, or the start of attending a lot of shows in Linz at the KAPU, and then later on in other clubs in Linz, where there's still a very interesting scene around punk rock, hip hop, etc.
It's still until today.
Yes.
And the venue still exists.
They still exist. Okay. Absolutely.
Cool.
And I am cooperating with them a lot, also with my own festival, by having cooperations together, organizing stuff together as well, and watching music there and bring them to their own festival.
Cool. So this means that the venues that you grew up with later, you had the chance to work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. So became part of the community, which is very open-minded. It's very easy to connect there. And yeah, it's been a very interesting process, actually.
Cool. Okay. Number 53. Who or what has been your biggest inspiration in art in general?
My biggest inspiration in art in general. Biggest inspiration. I mean, I could answer with one of my favorite music bands.
But it could be a person too.
It could be a person too, yeah. Or it could also be a kind of a mindset in art as well.
Yeah.
So that's very, very hard to choose. But maybe I'd like to answer with something I never really understood, but I try to work like that all the time, which means that everything you do is only a thing you can try. That everything is kind of a tryout, and it doesn't matter if you succeed or fail. It doesn't exist, because your mindset is, this is something you can try, you can experiment with. And it's not about the goal, it's not about the product itself, it's just about the doing.
The journey.
The journey,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
And is this something somebody learned you? Is this some epiphany that you reached at one point?
No, of course, I've read about this in literature, and I think there is in Germany there has been a very interesting kind of political science movement in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they tried to implement this way of thinking within science, that we can only try to find something out about society, and we can use theories and see where it brings us. But you can never think of society as like in nature, like this is a product we can view, we can look at, like maybe a tree. You can analyze a tree and see, okay, a tree is made out of wood and it works like that. Society doesn't work like that. It's too dynamic, maybe, and so we can only try and experiment and find out about society, or not, who knows.
But this is, in the end, this is what life is about, like,
maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Maybe.
Yeah, because the end is certain. It's just the way we get there is what it's about. Yeah, I could agree to that, actually. Cool. Number 7. If you had to name a top 3 musical, artistical, of cultural teachers that you personally have or had in life, who would you name? Think of, for example, literally music or art teachers, colleagues, or people that passed by in your life that made a lasting impression on you, who shaped you the most as a person. A similar question, but more as linked to persons, I think.
Yeah. Since I prefer thinking of communities and collectives, I can say for at least one guy. He's called Richie. Used to work for KAPU and Stadtwerkstatt as well. Has got his own record label now in Graz in Austria, Interstellar Records, and we worked together regarding label stuff, festival stuff. We went together to other experimental music festivals in Croatia.
Yeah.
And his thinking about art and what art is about, and as people who are working within art scene, really, I think shaped me a lot. For example, yeah. But you named, you said I thought
3 persons.
Named 3 persons. Well. Persons.
In a whole life.
Yeah. In a whole life. I see.
I thought about that question too. I thought to myself, like, okay, it's easy to forget people who were there at the beginning, but I can't, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but I can't deny that I walked into somebody who used to take care of me after school until I was 10 years old. And now you're in your 30s and you start to realize that a lot of basic things that you use every day is because she was putting all the effort in there. Actually, it's such a big space if you look at your whole life and who was there to. Yeah,
that's true. It's very true.
But that's just a suggestion, and some people walk into more meaningful people later in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's very hard to choose single persons, because it's always a lot of people. It's always a crowd. It's always a scene. It's always family. It's always community. It's also the internet. It's every single dialogue, discussions about stuff with everyone is equally important in a way.
But aren't there like individuals who surprise you out of nowhere sometimes? I mean, sometimes it could be somebody at the bus who has a talk with you and who throws a one-liner at you that kind of makes you like, oh wait, I never realized I could see it that way too.
Yeah.
I agree, like most of the times it's a group effort that changes somebody, but maybe it doesn't have to be a top 3 of who are most important, but people who surprised you with their individual knowledge, maybe.
That's such a tough question. It's really tough.
Yeah, we try to make a mix of tough and middle and easy questions.
Yeah.
You so far you pulled a lot of tough questions.
pretty much.
Actually.
Pretty much. Surprisingly, what was the most surprising surprise ever? I mean, most of those talks were happening when I was being drunk, maybe as well at festivals.
It is not worth less, I would say. If anything, sometimes it's worth more when you're on a different level.
Yeah.
You also have to change. Yeah, I think you're more open for people.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But it's also easy to forget the stuff again. It's somewhere there, but you can't grab it at the moment.
Imagine all the treasures you have here.
We know everything.
That's an interesting question. Like, maybe you already figured out the meaning of life, but you forgot about it 5 times already. No, but 2 more.
2 more.
At least to make a lasting impression on you.
So hard to answer, because then it counts.
Yeah. Would you be afraid to leave other people out that are important too? Is that a factor?
No, not really. Not really.
Could be.
No, maybe I'll have to answer this question later.
Okay.
Is that allowed?
If you want to, and always at the end you have a chance to elaborate about everything you want. So maybe we can get back at the end.
Okay.
2 more people who made a lasting impression. I'll put it here just to be sure. Number 25. Which documentary has made the biggest impression on you?
Um, 1991, the year the punk broke. A documentary about the tour of Sonic Youth and Nirvana through Europe in 1991. It was the tour right before Nirvana became really big. And
the Ramones were there too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They also have one song on this documentary. And I had this on tape back then, and in my room I had this very small TV, and actually I was watching the documentary every single night while falling asleep. And it has perfect songs. I'm a huge fan, of course, of Sonic Youth, and it was the first time seeing the stars of Nirvana everyone knew and loved back then in a very easy surrounding where they still, in a way, were themselves and really had a lot of fun with each other.
And was Dave already there?
Yeah, Dave was already there.
Yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, they were touring and everything looked so easygoing and funny, and they played their shows, a lot of them in Germany and in the Netherlands back then.
Yeah.
And they made this very fun documentary about being on tour, walking on the streets, talking with random people about noise music, people who don't have a clue what this is. And it was just, yeah, a lot of nonsense,
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and great music.
Very free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's off topic, but it's the two questions I would like to ask you about that. First of all, do you remember when Kurt passed away?
No, I'm too young for that.
Yeah. I thought, because I think you're from '88, so that must have been 6 or 7. That's too early.
Yeah. No, I was too young back then. I became to start a big Nirvana fan a few years later. And was talking to my parents as well. If was it on TV? Did we saw it? And they said yes, it was big.
Yeah, it was big.
Everyone knew it, and I kind of hoped back then. Then I could still remember. So, I know. I saw it on TV. I was there too. But no, actually not. It was just a fanboy's dream to, see or realize the Nirvana era. No, but I'm too young for that.
Yeah. It's so weird because there's several artists and several things in history that I got into later and that I knew that happened within my lifetime, and some are very vaguely there, and some are just too long ago.
Yeah.
Then the second thing I want to ask you is, like, if I look at Nirvana, I always have the idea, when you look at their history and their also what Chris and Dave are saying now afterwards, is that the biggest thing that was that Kurt just couldn't handle all the fame. He wasn't the kind of person that's the thing that became too big for him, and they never expected to become that huge. And that's basically what. Did you also have that impression, or would you?
Yeah, I think what Nirvana made that famous is that those 3 guys were like us, basically. And of course, Kurt had problems and had never the chance to really, solve those problems in the mixture of being suddenly the most famous musician on earth. That's a lot.
That's a big leap from being just this random dude in a bus going to the most famous guitarist and singer at the moment.
It was so fast. I mean, they only had they had Nevermind was their second album. And it made them that famous, and that's sick nowadays. I mean, if you compare the music business from now and then, it's something like that is impossible nowadays. Nowadays you have, of course, the internet, which is a very cool tool to get your own crowd in a way. But something like Nirvana will, I guess, never happen again. Everyone knows one band.
Yeah, and it happened within the rules back then. Yeah, and it's also that's what I also found so interesting when you saw when they were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that they didn't exist for that long. In the end, they had 3 real albums to show for, and everybody said it was about time they got inducted. While normally you have bands that are around for 40 years, you have 30 albums, and people would still say, I don't know. I don't know. And everybody unanimously was like, of course, Nirvana. Which is bizarre if you think about it.
Absolutely. This was, and if we talk about all 3 records, I mean, the last one was recorded by Steve Albini, the
Inueto, right? Or
yeah, exactly. Who passed away a few months ago, out of nothing, heart attack in his own studio. And I mean, if you look at this guy, what he did for the scene back then and still did nowadays, and his now I can name maybe the second person from the other question.
Might be him.
Because he had a way of working that I would really like to recommend everyone. It's, I mean, everyone knows the story maybe about his letter sent to Nirvana when they asked him to record the new record. And he said, yes, but I have a few conditions. And one of them was, I don't want to get paid by fees, like the more you sell, the more money I get. I want to get paid like a plumber. I'm a worker. I work for you when we're there in the studio. And after that, it's your record, it's your art, and make your money with your record. But I want to be paid in advance.
For my work.
Once for my work. That's me. That's your art. And your art is free. And that was Steve Albini. And he had a way of recording that's super cool and super interesting. I mean, I'm not a sound guy, but if you really want to learn something about how to record in a very interesting way, like he always tried to make records, make the band sound like the band is playing live at the moment. And that was also actually why Kurt Cobain wanted to choose Steve Albini, because Kurt never was happy with the sound of Nevermind. Nevermind sounded very, also cool in a way, but the voice in the front and guitar in the back, and he wanted to have a sound like they're live on stage. And Steve Albini, he was a master in doing this.
You can also hear this when you listen to Bleach. That of course they had less money and less means, but you hear that it's very important for them that it sounds as if you're there with them, not if it's composed and everything. No, that's really interesting. That's the funny thing, I think, especially when it comes to punk rock bands from that time, and not that Nirvana is. They're partially punk rock, but it goes further with them. But if you look like to Jerry Finn, for example, who did the Green Day albums and did Blink and everything, like, he passed away 5 years ago. And the first thing they said is the cool thing about him is that normally famous studio engineers keep their secrets to themselves. And he was the first one to tell anybody who would just ask him what his secrets are. And that he did even big bands like Green Day said we chose him because he played in punk rock bands himself, and he was a nobody until he did something really cool and people started paying him money for him. They choose him because he understands the difference between having heart for the music or being good at music and getting money for it.
Absolutely.
Cool. So we have a second one. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Maybe we get a third one along the way.
I'm sure.
Let's see. 50. As an artist, would you sell your work for commercial purposes? For instance, TV commercials, or in your case, maybe it would be a better question to say, are there limits to how commercial you would go with your festival?
I think there are limits, yes, but I would never say no to any commercializing progress. But it's easy for me to talk because I'm not an artist in a traditional way. I try to organize stuff.
Not when you are busy with this anyway.
But of course, in my everyday work, I have to look for money to make stuff happen, and I'm not afraid to cooperate with commercial stuff, corporations, etc. But of course, there are limits as well. But I'm never sure if limits are important or make sense. It's just sometimes you have a good feeling and sometimes you have a bad feeling about corporations.
Yeah.
And if you have a bad feeling, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And is this something because I know you're because I know you personally, I know you're an organizer, but you also have a good team around you with people. Whenever commercial opportunities present themselves, is that something that you would first talk about with your team?
Yeah, always. Yeah, it's always a team decision.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have this chance to discuss stuff, because in this field it's a lot of stuff you have to decide on your own, or you work alone in front of your computer. But stuff like that, topics like that, you can talk through with other people, is always the decision making feels always a bit more easier, because you can do it together and look at the stuff, have a lot of different points of view, for example. But yeah, those are those discussions where at the end of them, maybe there will be red lines, and we say, okay, no, this won't happen, or this shouldn't happen anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, or Little Richard?
Johnny Cash.
Why Johnny Cash?
Why? First of all, I'm a fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all is, it didn't really give a lot of shit about stuff. He made interesting stuff, visiting prisons and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The other two guys are cool too, and I think two of them were half of the $1 Million Quartet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, true.
So they all did the great art, I guess. But it's my feeling, Johnny Cash, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I also have the feeling that for me, I think it would be heavier to choose between Johnny Cash and Little Richard, but with Johnny Cash also, and I could be wrong, but I have the feeling that he was one of the first that also talks about the dark side of being a guy in society. Like, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Like, he was the depression, alcoholism, and
yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate him too for that. Cool. What is the most extreme form of music that you can enjoy?
Grindcore, or sometimes not speed metal, but a very fast form of does this even exist? A fast form of drone metal, maybe.
Is there an example for a band or that you say? Because grindcore is already close to what you're saying. Second, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Not really. I mean, grindcore bands are those kind of concerts. You're, at least for me, it's you're stepping into a club, and out of nothing, a grindcore band shows up and plays there, and it's always like, okay, fuck, go for it, and then have fun for an hour.
Yeah.
But I have actually never an idea which band is it, and who are you. It's just, okay, they just make fun and enjoy it. And when I talk about extreme form, for myself, it's always very extreme to see bands like Sun O, who make this slow motion metal music. And they have this live concert thing where you feel the music, where the bass is so slow and hardcore low that you're standing in the crowd, and sometimes it feels like a panic attack. Sometimes it feels like a massage. Sometimes it feels like space.
Yeah.
And they play a show. It sounds like one song. It feels like 10 minutes, and then you realize, okay, fuck, they just played 2 hours.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Where have I been?
Yeah.
And that's very extreme.
Kick you out of your comfort zone too.
Completely.
Yeah.
And of course, you need a lot of technology on stage to do that. But in the end, 2 guys, 1 guitar, 1 bass, a lot of smoke, and super cool lights, and you're 2 hours on a trip without mushrooms, and that's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Music can do that too.
Yeah.
That's extreme in a way.
It is extreme for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I know what you mean, and I think it's a difficult question because what is extreme can be so different for whoever you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And some could say that I can enjoy Schlager, but that's really extreme for me if you would ask a random person or somebody who likes Schlager. Yeah, I listen to Metallica every now and then. Mm-hmm. So yeah, interesting. I agree. Okay. 32. Put together a dream team as a band. Anyone is allowed, dead or alive. The best drummer and the best bassist and the best singer and the guitarist and maybe keys. I put together a dream team band.
A supergroup.
A supergroup.
A so-called supergroup.
Anybody.
All right. Let's start with Neil Young on the guitar, of course. Kim Gordon on bass and as a singer. Kim Gordon from former Sonic Youth. And actually those 2 would already make the most interesting supergroup ever.
Do you even want to add people here?
But maybe let's put the drummer of Lightning Bolt into this duo, and then you have a trio which I would like to book for Klang Festival right away.
You would keep it there, like that's the trio and that's enough.
That's the trio. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It would be interesting to just put them in a rehearsal hall and like you just lock them up for 10 hours and let's see what you come out with. Cool. I like it that you keep it small because the possibilities will be endless, but maybe less is more.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That would be right away the sickest trio I can think of.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. I like that. The 37. Quentin Tarantino, Woody Allen, or Martin Scorsese?
All 3 of them are kind of interesting and boring at the same time.
What makes them boring?
What makes them boring is they all make movies, and movies are cool, but movies are also very fast, very boring. Even if like those 3 old white guys who've been making movies for decades, and it's okay, I get it. You make movies, they are great, but there would be other directors too. But let's not talk about the negative part of it. I would like to have a talk with Quentin Tarantino because I think he's very, very funny and very interesting. And just have a few beer with him, and sounds like fun, I guess. Okay,
cool. When we put together these questions, we know that they're all 3 old, wide. But it's that with these questions we try to put 3 of a kind together and see where you would go from there. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Evil questions.
But no, the third person for being a biggest influence to you is not in this trio.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Which was the first concert that you... No. Which concert that you visited was the best? Question number 10.
Maybe the last one, it was DJ Marcel at Klangfest.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of all time. Could be. I mean,
could be. Or maybe it was the greatest concert of all time. No. Of course, I would pick maybe my first Sonic Youth concert I have seen. It was back then at Rock am Ring. I think I was 15 years old or something.
Mm-hmm.
They were, for me and my friends, they were those huge, stars, and what they did and the kind of music was just magic for us. And Rock am Ring is this big festival in Germany, and they played there for some reason at the slot. The afternoon had like 70 minutes to play, so they had to play a short set. But those 70 minutes were just crazy as this little boy who was this huge fan of Sonic Youth, seeing them in real life.
Yeah.
And making this Rock am Ring festival, at least for 70 minutes, a noise rock show.
And it's huge over there. It's a fucking sea over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw the images. It's literally like, was it the main stage where they were playing?
No, it was the second stage.
Yeah.
Which still is a very huge stage.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah.
And they played during the sunset, which was pretty cool. And they had this new album back then. It's called Sonic Nurse. The Chimarook was already their fifth member of the band.
Sorry for interrupting you. If I'm not mistaken, we have it here.
Chimarook or Sonic Nurse?
I think we have Sonic Nurse standing over here. So the S starts over here. Oh, it's behind of course, it's just behind here. Where is that? No, the S starts here, and then we get.
I think I see it. Is it that one?
Yeah, here we have it. So this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is that the actual concert ticket over there?
No, that was some years later.
Okay. This is when your sister went with you for the first time.
Exactly.
So you saw that before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
This was my third Sonic Youth show, I guess, the Tollwood Festival in Munich.
Yeah.
Where they played their famous record Daydream Nation, which came out in '89.
Yeah.
But Sonic Nurse came out in 2003 or 4, and they played Rock am Ring a year later.
Yeah.
And played almost the whole record. And it was pure magic, and maybe the greatest concert for me in this situation and in this context.
Cool.
It blew me away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still blows me away when I'm thinking about this one.
But it's also such a good combination with it, and it's a huge festival, and you're young. Like, imagine we all know what it's like to be, your hormones are going through your body. And I was thought to myself, like, in a way, there's no better age to experience music when you're in your teenage years, because everything is so intense.
Absolutely.
And then you see your heroes that you've been following all your life in this huge festival, and I can imagine. And
nothing is more important than music in those moments, in those situations. And that's the truth for you in this moment.
There is no bigger truth in that age.
That's pure magic.
Yeah, and you're
getting goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah, if it would be asked me with the same heroes, and I think you carry that dedication your whole life with you, but it never gets intense as.
Yeah.
In a weird way, sometimes they how do you say it? They raise you as much as your parents did in a weird way.
Yeah, sure. That's true.
Yeah, cool. Number 15. Which artist do you most hope will remain active for a long time?
Neil Young. I mean, he's very old already.
How old is Neil Young at this point?
80, 81.
Damn.
And maybe I should get over my Neil Young phase.
Why, if you enjoy it?
Yeah, but Neil Young is also kind of a meme too, of course.
Yeah.
But he kind of, he's called the father of grunge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he still has his grungy noise rock guitar for 20 minutes. It's not really a solo what he's playing, but he's just jamming around. And I would love to see Neil Young at least one more time when he comes over to Europe. And I hope he still plays until he gets 100 years or something like that.
It's so ironic that his name is Neil Young.
Yeah.
And still going strong. I think I heard last time that he was in a beef with what's that guy called with that huge podcast? I can say his name right now.
He attacked Spotify.
Yeah.
He criticized them, and
what's his name? I forgot the name.
That Spotify chef. I don't remember his name.
I'm talking about somebody who has he has a huge podcast. It's so stupid.
It's kind of a it's not the most liberal podcast. It's a very.
He's been criticized a lot and been called right wing because he also talks with right wing people.
Yeah,
it's so stupid because I like him a lot because he also talks with people that are very pro mushrooms and everything.
Yeah.
What's his name? I wish I could remember his name. He's a bald guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But Neil Young had the beef, and he
threatened to take all his music from Spotify if they would still.
Yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
At the same moment, I also quit my Spotify abo.
Yeah. Okay. Solidarity. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm still not back at Spotify, but Neil Young is so.
Dedication. It annoys me that I can't come up to this guy's name, but schwa. 28. Which concert of artists from before your time you wish you could have experienced?
Beatles.
Yeah, more than Nirvana.
Yes, more than Nirvana.
And actually. Which one?
Which one? Maybe the one they played at the studio, which was their last concert, where this
on the roof.
On the roof.
Yeah.
That would be sick, or having the chance to visit them while they were playing in the studio, because they didn't play live anymore.
Yeah.
Haven't been played live for years. So the chance of seeing the Beatles live in their final phase, that would, that's it. That's my answer. That's, you can wake me up at midnight. They always will say the Beatles.
And why them out of everybody?
Why them? It's
Joe Rogan. Sorry.
Nice.
Rogan. Okay, sorry. I'm really listening, but the other half of my brain was like, sorry. Yeah.
I mean, Nirvana could have also been interesting, but maybe that sounds strange. But watching a Nirvana concert would be like watching a Nirvana concert.
Mm.
Pretty cool, pretty awesome, shaking, and seeing those three guys on stage and playing their greatest song, having a lot of fun. But it's easier for me to imagine how it would feel or be at a Nirvana concert. But if I'm talking about the Beatles concert, I don't even have a clear picture of the setting where the concert could be, how the sound would be, how the crowd would react.
Yeah.
How do you react on the Beatles? That's way too
history.
Yeah, that's history. That's a lot of there's so much in it, and
this is the generation between our parents and grandparents that were right in the middle of this.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those creative heads, just seeing them playing and jamming. At the end, they were mostly jamming and trying stuff out. I would really like to see that live.
Yeah, cool.
Mm.
Okay, fair enough. '57. Do social media and other modern technology play a role in your art, and if so, what kind?
Yeah, it plays a very huge role. I guess social media, like everything else, has a lot of downsides and upsides as well. But what you can do with social media is create your own audience, your own visibility in a way. And of course, it's always important to, for example, when we're working for our festival, we need media coverage. We need to get to radio stations, sometimes TV, and of course newspapers to spread the news about the festival and reach out. But the social media is, in the meantime, the most important. Is the most important part actually in marketing and PR.
Yeah.
It is what it is, yeah. And you have all the classic platforms, and you can spread around on the different medias. We produce a lot of videos, of course, a lot of pictures, sure, a lot of text as well, lyrics. You can find. So you can use social media for classic advertising for your festival, but also use it as a tool to spread some art on different levels.
And do you get people asking questions over social media? Do you get a lot of people contacting you, like visitors, or?
Actually, yes, but we always try to make them to communicate via email with us. I mean, that's now a boring detail, but it's easier to manage when you have one official way to communicate in both ways. So if someone is getting in touch with us via Instagram, for example, there we have, for example, automatic replies where thanks for your question, please ask them again and send them at blah, 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 blah. So that's one part. And the other one is the part with all those reactions you have on your statements, your pictures, your whatever. And when it's like public, like comments or stuff like that, there is some kind of a dialogue going on, of course. But the classic, so questions like, hey, where can I find the campsite at your festival? Those are questions we also always like to keep away from social media and bring them back to earth, to email, and have a conversation there.
Okay.
Because on social media, it gets way too confused to communicate with 5 different messengers and stuff like that. It's easier to have one official communication tool.
So this has really been thought through when you're thinking about how do I set this up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. No, I wouldn't say this is boring, because if I would be watching this, I would want to know, like, okay, so we're looking at somebody who organizes concerts. I can imagine you start pretty small, and at one point it gets bigger, and you have to start thinking about how do we do this the best way and the most logic way.
In a most logic way and in a most transparent way. When you're working as a collective, it's always important to have most of the information available for everyone. And everyone who wants to know something, read something, how decisions were made, it's easier to have like a history in your email program than 6 different channels on social media and chat groups. Chats are disappearing. Everyone knows it. It's so fast. So it's a logical way of thinking, but it's also, in my opinion, very interesting way of thinking when you want to make stuff transparent. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. 47. What matters more to you, lyrics or music?
Music.
Yeah?
Yeah. most of the time I don't understand lyrics, even if it's in German, English, or whatever. And if I understand them, they are most of the time cool and important, and some of them are very, very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of it is always the music. For me, there's one band, it's called
I know them.
Yeah,
actually.
Bass and drum set.
Mm-hmm.
Was for the first years their set. And the bass player also sings. And his lyrics in the beginning were most of the lyrics were like what was fantasy language.
Yeah.
And he also printed the lyrics on the LPs, and you could read them, but it was just nonsense. And in some interviews, he said, so yeah, he just invented lyrics because he wanted to use his voice as the third instrument of the band. And if you listen to especially the first 2 LPs, maybe you really can understand what he means, and that's a good example for me where and why music is for me a little more important than lyrics, because first of all the music touches me, and once I'm touched I can listen to the lyrics.
So it's the fundamental of the experience.
In a way, yes.
Fair enough. Cool. Yeah, I'll keep it sophisticated, but if you're into acid, you should try them. You should really try them. That's how I got acquainted with it anyway, but
nice.
Cool. Number 17, how important is art in your life in general?
Yeah, I think art is very important in general, also in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You can always discuss about stuff like how important is art really, because first comes the food and then the fun or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, if mankind will leave something for future living organisms.
Yeah.
I think it's something like art.
Yeah.
And in this way of thinking, art could be basically everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, buildings have to be built by people who work, and that's an art as well, like music or picture, something like that. So everything that's maybe a little bit more fundamental and has some chances to persist time.
Yeah.
Is maybe art and is important, and that's what human mankind makes human mankind.
Very interesting angle. Yeah. For me, it's very early for me to be conducting this program. You're one of the first guests, and I already have to tame myself a little bit not to get into it too much, because you could talk about hours for this subject alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
An old game. This question.
It's an old game. The question. Yeah, it's a game of games actually. Hey, we have a record question. So. One more to go. Number 20. What is the last record you bought?
I think it was the new record from Hania Rani.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Polish piano and player and singer, very modern. And we saw her last year in Vienna in the big Konzerthaus, and very, very magical. And I think it was her newest album. Yeah, LP. Great stuff. Yeah, buy her art.
Did you consider asking her for Klang already?
Yeah, we did that 2 years ago, but it's out of our reach.
And do you have it sometimes that you think there's a big chance it's out of our reach, but we'll try it anyway?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And do you have to limit yourself with that? Or is it like just go until you have a program?
No, sometimes you really want to know how much an artist really is to get him or get her. And it's some knowledge about the artist, but also a first kind of reach out and have a kind of communication for maybe future plans.
Yeah.
When you're able to afford artists like Nirvana. I mean, Nirvana would be sick having her in the Altes Hallenbad at Klang Festival. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, for the context for the watchers, at the moment you're doing your concerts from the Altes Hallenbad, which is a swimming pool, so that people know what you're talking about. I would also think that a lot of, I mean, I've been there and I've, for instance, saw DJ Marcella.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool venue because the acoustics alone are so nice coming from the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Best location.
Yeah. That's such a cherry on top with other artists. 29. Which music video has made the biggest impression on you?
Oh, the good old times of music videos.
They still do it every now and then.
Yeah. That's true.
In our days.
Hallelujah. Yeah, of course I have to go with whether it's a Nirvana video again. I know it's boring, it's always Nirvana, but
if it's good, it's good, right?
Yeah, and it's where those MTV times were. Yeah, 80% of the time you watched MTV, you saw Nirvana actually. And they had some really cool videos, but my answer is maybe not Nirvana in this case, but REM. They had this video where there's a waterfall, and it's a very beautiful waterfall.
Yeah.
And you have the scene, the crowd going up there and falling down or something, and the song
falling down the waterfall.
I think so, or something like that.
Yeah.
And what's the song actually? I think it's Shiny Happy People.
Yeah.
And this song in combination with this way too romantic setting of everything is shiny and the water and the crowd is chilling around, but something is strange. Watching that video as a kid in the 90s really made me say, what the fuck is happening?
Weird fucking video.
Yeah.
Those are the best. Those are the best, the weirdest ones. Okay.
But it's a very static video. Nothing happens actually. It's one. You just see the setting, the band up there playing, and some minor stuff that happens, and that's it basically. But the whole picture really is in my mind.
It tests your imagination, though.
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Second record question. Congratulations.
Thank you. Did I win?
Yeah, you win. So that's a voucher for the only thing we're gonna ask you afterwards, which it was, and you're going to find it in the description, and maybe with a small reason why and everything. But that's something for later.
All right.
What record would you turn on or rebought the most in your entire life? So, of all the records you listen to, which one did you listen the most? And mostly when it's that record you bought it 5 times or something, or what's the most frequent record you ever put on in your whole life?
Maybe it's the Preservation Hall Jazz Band.
Yeah. That's surprising.
That's surprising.
And you put it up, not your parents or
No, it's an old band that still exists with younger people. It's very traditional. It's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
I bought the LP there, and this.
That's cool that you were actually able to buy it from where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We went to the famous preservation hall where all New Orleans traditionals were played by the band, but the Preservation Hall Jazz Band wasn't in New Orleans at the time where we were visiting. But of course, I had to buy their new LP, which came out in 2010 or something, I guess. It's called That's It. I really like the name. And this LP, I'm listening very, very much because when I'm working, for example, at the bar after a concert or something, or I'm DJing a bit, it's this kind of music that also works in a way like, not actually like techno, but in a way like techno.
Yeah.
You have a very harsh beat and super dynamics, and it's but it's not techno, it's New Orleans jazz music. And I love this combination, and the crowd always reacts to this LP. And I think since I got this LP, in 50% of the time I was listening to that LP.
That's
of all
good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's
Preservation jazz band.
That's a good thing about jazz, because you say it's so close to techno. Like, in a weird way, I think if the most widest genre of music, I think it's jazz, because there's so many different jazz that you can call jazz, and it's still so far apart from each other, as far as I have seen.
Absolutely. I mean, the jazz term works like pop, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe like punk. It's actually a very, very wide open term.
Yeah.
Most of the times we have very specific imaginations of what is jazz, what is pop, what is punk. But the cool thing about all those kind of musics that every music can be every kind of the genre. So you have pop, that can be jazz, that can be pop, punk, and then you have a situation where all those genre borders or definitions don't really make sense anymore. And then everything is jazz, everything is pop, everything is punk. But that's jazz, yeah.
Even I was thinking about, even if you already have a lot of musicians coming together, it's already very dangerous to becoming jazz. If I think about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, to give an example, this is a band that has 2 drummers and a lot of different, and already look at it, I think it's already coming close to jazz. Simply because it's so experimental.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
It's everywhere.
Cool. Yeah, okay, cool. It's the last one. How do you stay motivated and passionate about the work that you do?
Actually, it's always the experience you have when you're doing stuff together. It's like a festival is a big chaotic something, and sometimes stuff just can happen, or you just have to let stuff happen because there are so many questions, issues, situations you have to manage at the same time, and you can't do stuff like that alone. It's only possible to do that as a collective. And I always enjoy it the most when the collective works like a hub, where like it's not hierarchy within the group doesn't play any role anymore. So everyone is in charge of everything. It feels like, of course, everyone knows this is my department, this is your department, but when everything makes click and work, and it's like a living living thing that's vibrating, and everything is happy. The artists are happy, the audience is happy, and we as a group are happy afterwards. That keeps you motivated.
So to quote the A-Team, you love it when a good plan comes together.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. Before we're done with the questions, you still owe me one person that made a lasting impression on you personally.
Yeah, I have to say, this interview situation, this talk, this
Yeah.
dialogue,
Yeah.
really hits me in a good way.
Okay, cool.
So honestly,
Yeah.
I will pick you,
Oh,
Harvey.
thank you. I will put it right into my pocket over here, and I will cherish it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for this great experience.
Cool. We like to make a tradition out of everything at the end.
Mhm.
Oh, before that, there was one more thing I forgot to mention in your intro. You recently won a prize
Yeah,
for Klang Festival. Congratulations with that.
thank you
Can
very
you tell
much.
us a little bit about it?
It's maybe the biggest prize you can get in Austria.
Mhm.
It's a nationwide prize for, in Austria it's called Kulturinitiativen. I think, what's the term in English for stuff like that?
Culture Initiative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we just got this prize a few days ago, and we are still very stunned and very surprised, because the list has got a lot of promise on a lot of interesting artists on it, like maybe Soap and Skin.
Mm-hmm.
And she got the prize as a musician, and we got the same prize in another category.
So you're in the same ball game as somebody like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this feels a bit unreal, but very satisfying, and that's pure motivation as well. Not only the romantic stuff I said before about work as a collective.
Yeah.
Also the feeling, okay, what you do is being recognized by other artists in Austria, and they see that we are professionals and do it like we do, and that's getting this prize, this kind of work and festivals. That's cool for us and cool for everyone else who works in this kind of field, I guess.
Cool. Okay, the only thing that is left for me to ask now is like, as I said, we like to make a tradition out of this game that in the end you get some free time to talk about whatever you want. Maybe a shout out, maybe anything. Is there anything you would like to talk about or mention?
I still have those too.
Yeah, you do. You sure do. Yeah.
So I'll use the tradition for the I am asking you.
Okay, cool.
If I'm allowed to.
Of course, it's your party.
All right. Okay. So if you want to, you can pick 2 questions.
Out of your questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. I'll go for this one. If I pick the 2 record questions, I get one from you too. No. Okay. So you wanna ask them? I assume.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we'll start with number 15. Do you know which question number 15 is?
No, because I was planning on not telling, but we did one test.
Yeah.
And you're literally the first person who's actually gonna be on the program. So I think I printed these cards 5 days ago.
Okay.
And I came up with them 2 weeks ago. So I still have to kind of get into the whole process.
I see. I like your tradition, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Which artist do you most hope will remain active for a long time?
Ooh. The first thing the first thing that I think is I don't want to be egoistic and just take somebody I like the most, but who has the most value for the planet who is still busy, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting question. It's weird when you get it. Okay. Let's see who did really cool stuff lately, or who is still.
What if you pick yourself?
That's also interesting because I do hope that for a long time.
Would be an honest answer.
I think the first who comes to mind, I don't know if I would pick it in the end, but I think Sergei Tankian from System of a Down, and not even with System of a Down, but as an artist, because he said something very interesting. As long as I know this guy, he always comes with one-liners about being a musician that really strike me.
Oh, nice.
And he's a really good activist because they're from Armenia, and he of course he's very invested in recognition of the Armenian genocide, but he talks in such an intelligent way, and he's a protester in such an intelligent way. It always inspires me. If we have more people who have such a wise vision, I think we could accomplish more. And the last time he said something very interesting, because he was at a podcast and they always ask him, like, why isn't System of a Down releasing a new album, and what is up with System of a Down? And a lot of people who, because System of a Down is doing a show maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and they've been started doing this since 5 years, and they had a hiatus of 10 years, and for some reason, it's always a bit shady what's going on in that band. And I used to see many bands reacting to this, and they throw it mud or whatever, and he said something in the line of, there are 2 ways of being in a band. Either you're an artist, or either you're an entertainer, or either you're both. And he said there's nothing wrong with either of those 2. But the thing is that if you decide to be an artist, this is not the easy way, because you have a very big set of dedication, and you can never. And if you're an entertainer, you just look at the audience and what they like. And he said, I have a lot of admiration for entertainers because they work really hard and they make beautiful things too. But if you're an artist, you have a set of values towards yourself that you cannot break. And when you're in a big band, that's hard because you will have to fight and lose many times and defend yourself many times and go through a lot of hardships to maintain an artist. There's no compromise if you're an artist. And that struck me so hard because, and this is not the first time that he struck me so hard. As long as I've seen him, he learned me a lot about what it's like to understand what it's to be an artist and to make your own choices so I hope that I think future generations can really, and as older as he gets, because he's developing too, you can also hear that it's even getting more wiser with him through the years. So I hope that he becomes 110 too, because I think if future generations will be able to enjoy his point of view, let alone the music he makes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you. There's one more question left. I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
It's question number 23. It's a question I didn't get.
Huh? How's that possible?
Is it not possible?
Well, maybe you forgot. Tell me the question.
Is there an artist whose music you like, but who you ignore for other reasons?
I think you didn't get that question. I have 3 questions here for in case if you would get the Joker question. And I just grabbed everything and now is that okay?
Absolutely. It's interesting that you got your own question.
Judith got that question too.
Okay.
The first who comes to mind is Kanye West.
Yeah.
That's a really bad, and I found it to be because when I came up with this question, I thought to myself, it's going to be very hard to answer that one, because there's also another question that asks, do you think there are artists who go too far, and is there such a thing as going too far in art? And I think somebody like Kanye West is really a good example, because I wouldn't say he's my most favorite artist of all time, but he definitely did very interesting things. And if I would not have known him, I would have respected him for that. But he went from, I already hate it when people get arrogant, and he made a sport out of being arrogant about himself. But when he became anti-Semitic, and when he, I've seen him saying one-liners that I thought to myself, like, this is he's literally going on Hitler level at this point. There's no other way to. I don't like it when people start comparing things to Hitler very soon, but he's really on a point that you can't dodge it anymore. He's literally anti-Semitic at this point, and combined with that, he's so arrogant about his own work and about himself as a person. He it's too bad, especially when you see that somebody's good at what they're doing.
That's always the tricky question about, can you separate the art of the artist, or can you not, or can you, should you not? It's very old question.
I think if you would ask me that, because there's also lost profits, and that's the worst case. You know about the whole lost profits?
A little bit.
The singer who basically was caught sexually abusing babies and stuff like that. I don't think there's a question that you can't dispensate that in any way. But then, it's hard, because if you look at a Michael Jackson or whatever, if you're convinced that he's guilty, and I personally am, it's hard, because when there are Michael Jackson songs that come on the radio, and I can't deny that I'm starting to tap my feet, and that's nostalgia for me too. And there's
Sure.
But if I would have a choice, I would always step away from it if it goes beyond my. But then again, you could also listen to music from 100 years ago, and you could basically make a point that almost everybody who lived 100 years ago did things I would never agree with.
Yeah.
So where's the fine line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, it's tricky. As long as you can have at least not fun, but if you can enjoy, for example, music from assholes, you should listen to the music. But if you don't have the right feeling, I mean,
it's a very personal
you feel
thing.
It, and it's tricky. It's a very tricky question.
I was so disappointed by Rammstein, to give an example, because I grew up with them, and they meant a lot to me in my teenage years, and they were criticized a lot of times, and I didn't agree with the mess, even with the Deutschland video, to give an example. And it was hard to defend them, but every time I thought to myself, it's something I personally think. And then the accusations of sexual misconduct came, and they literally said, we want to investigate it on our own, and that's the last thing you ever heard about it, and they're still doing concerts. That was hard, because they really meant something to me. And this was a moment that I thought to myself, I was wrong. Something ain't kosher here, and that there's no, I couldn't agree with trying to scrub this away. There are lines.
Definitely.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Very much.
Enjoyed it a lot.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Thanks for having me.
It's absolutely. So if you are or know an artist in any way, like a musician, like somebody who organizes a concert, please send us a DM on Instagram, or mail me at harveyhasadream@gmail.com. And I think we're going to leave it at this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.